Hey, we want to welcome you guys back to Covenant Podcast. We're excited today that we have Miss Audrey in here to just tell you a little bit about her story. Miss Audrey's the head of school here at our new school, Lincoln Christian Academy, and so we brought her in today. And she was a little nervous about sitting down and on the couch, that's what we call it, and having a conversation today. But we wanted you to get to know a little bit about her, get a little bit about her story. Obviously, she's ready and sitting on go where the school is concerned.
Sitting on go.
But we wanted you to know her heart as well. We feel like one of the strengths of our church in general has been it's not just that people have gifts and talents and all those things that the Lord gives us, but that heart connection. You know, we say this on our staff a lot. It's actually one of my goals. We love each other as a staff, but we also like each other. And we know, according to the word, we have to love each other. But the fact that we also like each other is such a big deal for us. And she's been here for a couple months now, and we just fallen in love with her heart. We loved her already. We knew her already, but now that we're on the same staff, you get stuck being around all of us every day. We built some really really deep relationships with one another. So this is Miss Audrey. I want to let you say hey to him, and we're going to get into a little bit of your story, your testimony, talk about your baby boy that's about 8 foot tall, and your hubby, and maybe a little bit of your testimony, how y'all ended up here.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into talking about our school eventually, because there are a lot of people out there that want to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why you maybe. And so anyway, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, your family, your husband, kid, those things. So personal stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, yeah.
I am a little nervous, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get started. So Chad is my husband. We have one son. He's 17 now. I'm having a hard time that next year is his last year in high school. I'm really having a hard time with
And he's
that.
a grown man already.
He is my man child. He's 6'2.5". He wrestles. He plays football. He also does tennis, which was strange to us. That was a strange one. So that started last year, and he's actually pretty good. So we're really excited about that. But he's a year-round athlete, so we're really excited about that one.
And a worshiper too.
He is a worshiper.
We love that part about him.
And I definitely have to give credit where credit is due here at Covenant, because that is one of the reasons that we started coming here, was the praise and worship team for the children's ministry.
Yeah.
He was actually 5 when we started coming to Covenant.
You guys have been here like 11, 12 years?
Yes, we have.
Time
He's
flies.
17. And so it's just been a great experience. We started at a very small church here in Lincoln County. And when he turned 5, we knew it was time for him to be around other students his age and praising and worshiping.
Yeah.
We wanted him to learn from that. And we actually found that here at Covenant.
Yeah.
So we were really excited. We actually were invited by many friends, many friends.
Well, Miss K takes a lot of credit.
Miss K is definitely.
Miss K Sims is our neighbor. And she tells me all the time, I brought them here.
She did. She definitely did. She was our neighbor. And she would tell us all the time, you got to come to Covenant. Got to come to Covenant. So, yes, ma'am, we're coming one Sunday. And we did. And we've been here ever since.
Y'all been here ever since.
Been here ever since.
Well, I knew Chad when he was in high school. Well, actually, middle school. He was a football player at Lincolnton, and I knew his family. And he was always, this same guy you're married to, was always just a good guy, loved him with my whole heart.
Yeah.
And so I knew about him and knew him, and had not met you until you guys got here. But how did you and Chad meet? I know we don't want to do your whole testimony, but a little bit about how you guys met.
How we met. Now, that's a good story. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So right out of college, I was working at a group home for orphans with mental disabilities.
Right.
So I was working there, and the therapist at the time was going to start a small company in Gastonia called Carolina Center for Counseling, and they wanted some one-on-one people to work, one-on-one with students.
Yeah, I had some of those
schools.
when I was in teaching school.
Yes. So he asked if I would like to be one of the one-on-ones, to work with some students. I said, of course. So start working there, and it was a mental health facility That's what it was actually called. And so I actually met my husband at a mental health facility. I did.
But she wasn't his one-on-one.
No, it wasn't his one-on-one. He was actually somebody else's client. But no.
That one-on-one, let me explain something to you, because it was strange when I was teaching school.
Yes.
A one-on-one is a person that actually is assigned to a particular student.
Yes.
And they hang with them all day. They come in class with them just to make sure that they're transitioning into different parts of life.
Yes.
And so she was somebody's one-on-one. She was with a student all day long, but it wasn't Chad. Okay. Go ahead.
But that's where I met Chad. And so I actually took his student at the time because he was being promoted in the company at the time. So I actually took his student and we met at an Exxon gas station to transition that student, to get to know that student. And we just developed a great friendship.
Yeah.
He's a great man, great friend. To this day, I mean, we still talk on the phone. We call each other on the phone and talk several times throughout the day. So he's my best friend, and he's a great husband, great father.
Yeah,
he's a good man.
Great
I got
man
a good
of God.
one.
Yeah, you did.
Great man of God. Great man of God.
You got
he's a
good
great
one.
leader.
So did you kind of grew up in, as did Chad, grew up in like Christian family?
Yes, we did. Southern Baptist for me. I'm from South Carolina. Yeah.
What part?
Union, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I knew that.
About 30 minutes outside of Spartanburg, Greenville area.
Yeah. So you and Chad ended up leaving, obviously, the mental health facility that you met in. And
we did.
How did you end up in education? I mean, because that was like.
So at the time with my one-on-one, I was actually going to school with the one-on-one every single day. So I have a educational background anyway during that time. But when we had our son, the hours were not conducive for a family.
Right.
I was being called at 11, 12 o'clock at night. I had clients that were going into crisis, and, I was having to drive up to Broughton Hospital a lot. And so, and having a baby during that time, it just was not conducive for a family. And so I said, I just need to get back into education.
Yeah.
And so I actually went and interviewed for a teacher assistant position at Norris S. Childers in Lincolnton.
Yeah.
It was the first year that they opened up. We actually watched that school being built. It was in our backyard.
Yeah.
And I was one of the teacher assistants there in 3rd grade and also in 5th grade, and absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So during that time, I was there for about 2 years, and I wanted to teach full time.
Yeah.
So at the time, they didn't have any positions there. So I put in an application in Catawba County and quickly got that position at Fred T. Ford High School.
So did you already have your teaching stuff and licensing and all that stuff, or did you
So
lateral entry into that?
I did. That's a great question. I lateral entered into teaching at the high school level.
Yeah.
And so I did that for, they give you 3 years to work on your teaching degree. Right. So I did mine in like a year and a half because I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Because you're smart.
No. God was with me.
Yeah, thank you.
God was definitely with me during that time. So I taught for 7 years at Fred T. Ford High School and loved the high school students. It was a great experience there in Catawba County. I love that, and quickly moved into administration. Actually, at Fred T. Ford High School, I was an assistant principal. Yes, I was an assistant principal there. So it was great to watch the children grow from a freshman to a senior in high school. You wouldn't believe the transitions, the things that they go through during that time. It was an amazing experience. Cool. It was.
So you ended up eventually in Gaston County.
I did.
Administrative.
I did. So while I was in Catawba County, I wanted more experience in administration. So I applied for a job at Maiden Elementary. Mm-hmm. Got that job and absolutely love working at Maiden Elementary. I love the elementary level. And I was actually recruited to Gaston County. I was called by their HR department and said, "Hey, we really want you down here." And I was like, I don't know about leaving my school mid-year.
Right. Yeah.
I just didn't want to leave my students like that. So that was really tough. So I actually talked to the principal and, an HR there. And I said, it has to be a break where I would start second semester because I didn't want to leave my students high and
Oh, I
dry. I
understand.
just didn't want
Yeah.
to do that.
I did teach school for 3 years, and
Hmm.
uh, I left teaching to become the preacher here.
Hmm.
And to this day, I miss the classroom. And the
Yeah.
reason is
Yeah.
because of the relationships.
Hmm.
When you have a student for a whole year and the opportunity that you get to pour into them and them pour into you,
Yeah.
it was a beautiful thing. And so while I love preaching, it's my favorite job I've ever had. Uh, I will quickly say my second favorite job I ever had was teaching school because of the relationships. And
Hmm.
thank God that some of the students I taught came to church here
Yeah.
eventually, but I just missed the relationship part of it. So I get why you didn't want to leave in the middle of a
Oh
year.
yeah. Yeah. It was
It's
tough.
traumatic to kids when somebody
Yeah.
disappears from their life in the middle of a year.
Hmm. It was pretty traumatic for me. I tell
Yeah,
you, it
that's
was
good.
lots and lots of tears both ways. It was, but they were very supportive during that time. They knew what my vision was, for my career, and they
Right.
knew that it wasn't them.
Yeah,
That God says, when God says move, you better move.
that's right.
And so I was being obedient
Yeah,
during that time, and I actually found myself in Gaston County, which was great because my son and my husband was there, and
yeah,
then we were on the same schedule.
yeah.
So that was a first, and
Finally,
that
you could go
was
to the ball games
I
without
can
having to
actually go to
drive
the
2
ball
counties.
exactly, go through 2 counties,
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
to my baby,
yeah.
but, it actually worked out.
That's good.
So, quickly was, promoted I was recruited to be an assistant principal at a middle school
Mhm.
in Gaston County. They were piloting a program where it's a school within a school.
Right.
So I was the principal over sixth grade, and I also had a guidance counselor that was with me that was part of my team. And so it was very high needs school.
Yeah.
And so we worked to support the students in
Right.
that school during that
Yeah.
time. And so I learned a lot, a lot,
So
a
you had
lot
to be
from
the
those
principal and the
students.
assistant principal for
Yes.
that group.
Yes,
Yeah,
pretty much. It was a school within a school. So I learned a
I
lot.
got you.
So after 1 year of that, I was actually promoted to a principalship there in Gaston County.
Yeah.
And it went up from there.
Yeah. So how long were you actually a principal in Gaston County before
And
we came after you?
yeah, so in Gaston County, 4.5 years, four and a
Yeah.
half years, I was a principal in Gaston County. And I tell you, I was at Cherylville Elementary. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had in my
Yeah.
career. Love the students there. The staff were amazing. And then you guys came
Yeah.
and said, hey.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I love Cherryville, the town of Cherryville has this like special place in my heart. I
Yes, they're
played
beautiful
Legion ball up
people.
there a couple of years
Hmm.
when I was in high school, and it's a different kind of town.
Hmm.
And just to this day,
Yeah.
I have deep relationships in Cherryville. So I knew that they were going to be mad at us when we came for you.
They were very upset, and they're still upset.
Yeah. We have some people from Cherryville in our church that when they found out when you came to work here
Mhm.
to be the head of school, that called me and said, "Why'd you steal our principal?" And I said, "Well, we had to. God told us to." So,
Yeah, yeah.
which is a good pivoting point because
Yes.
she was like she said, number of years in teaching and in administration, eventually in Gaston County. A few years ago, we began praying. Well, actually, we've been praying for probably 20 years on and off about
Mhm.
whether we're ever supposed to
Yeah,
start a school. Well,
yeah.
about 2 or 3 years ago, uh, one night in the elders meeting, we were just having a conversation about the ongoing prayer and thought of are we ever going to do it? And it just became like the center of conversation that particular night, where suddenly all of us we have
Mhm.
10 elders in our church, and all 10 of us were in the same space at exactly the same moment
Wow.
where we felt like now's the time to do that
Mhm.
with and it's not that we're to this day, we make sure that we throw this out there when we talk about Lincoln Christian Academy, which we're going to probably spend pretty much the rest of the time talking about. We're not anti-public school people. My
Right.
my daughter
Definitely not.
teaches in a public school. I
Yes.
volunteer endlessly. Danae
Mhm.
over here behind the screen, she's one of the she was one of like the PTA people at a public school. It's not we're anti-public school. We just believe that God specifically spoke to us that we had a
Mhm.
need out there that was time
Yes.
for God's people to fill, and so one of the first steps after uh, coming to that conclusion that night is how do we go about doing this? How do we go about start? We got 10 elders, and while some of us have been involved in, all of us have some education, and a couple of us had actually been involved
Right.
in public education.
Yes.
We really didn't know how to go about starting a school, but we knew God said do it, and
Right.
so one of our first decisions as an eldership is that what we need to do is hire somebody who has a heart for the Lord, number one, has a heart for kids, number two, and has a heart for Christian education. And so the very first person that came to our mind in a conversation was you.
Wow.
And while we knew you had a life that you in Christ, because we knew your family, we knew you, Chad and Caleb. We also knew you loved kids because of what you were doing, number one, but also your efforts in our children's ministry here. Even though it's not like we were sitting around watching your life, but it just became evident to us in conversation, that how you guys had poured yourself into our kids in our children's ministry. And then the next step became, I wonder if she's ever prayed about Christian being involved in a Christian school. And so we approached her, she and Chad, to ask them to start praying. So how did that go? What did you think about that?
Wow.
Had it ever happened? Had you ever thought about this before?
I have not thought about it before, but when you're in the public school setting, when you're a Christian there, you I wouldn't say you have to water it down, but I was saying things to my students like, let your light shine, be the nice kid. And of course, I was praying for them every single day. But in the public school setting, you don't pray out loud unless you're in a staff meeting. Of course, I was praying for my staff, but you're not praying in the classroom. But I was praying in my head in the classroom, and, and I would touch them on the shoulder, and I would make sure that I would pray for them every single day. So when I was approached with that, I was like, wow, I can pray out loud. That was the first thing that popped up. I can pray out loud in school. So I was really excited about that. But like I said, I was in such a great place in my career in Cherville Elementary. It just caught me off guard. I was like, God, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And it took some time, and we spent a few months back and forth. You would have questions, and we would have questions, and we were giving you that space to pray if you were supposed to be that person for us. I already knew that you were going to do this. I don't know why. I had a sense of peace in my heart and a clarity that I can't really describe, that I knew it was going to be you. But at the same time, I had very few conversations with you about what I felt like God was telling me, because I've learned this about walking faithfully before the Lord. If he speaks something to me about you, he's going to also tell you about it.
Yes.
And so I felt like eventually you would say yes, and eventually you said yes.
I did after lots of prayer, and God was saying, "Look, go, move, do it now."
Wow.
So
and that was a big deal, because we knew how much you loved that situation, and we feel like where Covenant is concerned, we got a 2-for-1 deal, because Chad is also in public education and works actually in the county office now in Gaston County Schools, but it's also been an integral part of conversations we've had with you and what we're going to do moving forward. So her first responsibility with us was to kind of lay the groundwork, create goals, set up how of becoming a Christian school. Like we're working on website development with Rhino back here. Just a lot of teamwork that went into that.
Lots of teamwork.
Rob and Joe, and we
lots
developed
of late nights.
we developed a board, and I was on that for a few minutes. I don't know that I would consider myself part of the board, but I was in those first few meetings.
Yes.
Then I stepped out of it, because I feel like, I never had one of those pastors that micromanages things. I felt like we had the right person in you, and then with Chad's expertise, and then with Rob and Joe and their passion, and Mindy and some of their passion for for the actual seeing it come into fruition,
Yes.
it was time for me to step out of the way and let y'all do what y'all were going to do. And so, uh, you began to create goals. So how did that look? I mean, I know you tapped into your expertise administratively, your classroom expertise, but how does that look when you're getting to create goals and direction for a Christian school
Wow. Yes.
versus? I know
Lots of
that's a
prayer.
hard question, but
That's a
it's a deep
it's a
question.
very deep
Yeah, yeah,
question. It very, very
yeah.
deep. And I tell you, our school board has been instrumental throughout this entire process. Um, we really just sat down and said, what are we doing? Like what is the purpose of
Why are we
LCA?
doing it? Right.
Why are we doing
Yeah.
this? What is the goal? I mean, we had to talk about our mascot. Like, what is the mascot going to look
Right.
like? What are the school colors are going to look like? What is a classroom? What does that look
Yeah.
like
Right.
for Lincoln Christian Academy? And we haven't actually talked about the name.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Lincoln Christian Academy. It was like, okay, it's the school. What are
Right.
we gonna name it?
Right.
What is it?
It's a very specific reason. We chose early on not to call it
Yes.
Covenant Christian School
Yes.
for a reason. Even though the school is probably going to be meeting on our grounds
Mhm.
and it's connected to our church, what we wanted to make sure, even with the name of the school, is that we made sure it wasn't just an invite to the people who go to church here,
Right.
that
Right.
it wasn't just covenant people, that it was a Lincoln County mission. It was a
Yes.
Lincoln County goal. And
Definitely.
that doesn't mean that people from Gaston County and Catawba or
Mhm.
Watauga County, however far you want to drive to be here,
We'll take you.
the reason we're calling it Lincoln Christian Academy in short is so that people didn't so streamline that thing to think it was just
It
something
was just
about
a
us.
covenant school.
Yes, yeah, because it's
Right.
not about us. We believe the
Right.
Lord
It's not.
spoke to our heart about a community, about our whole community, about our
Mhm.
whole earth, honestly. And so that's why we're a Lincoln Christian Academy,
Yes.
Um, and we became the Warriors. Is our name right? Yeah. So yeah,
Yes, we are the
it was.
warriors. And that was a deep conversation too.
Yeah,
That was not just, oh, what's our mascot gonna be? I mean, we went through the Bible,
yeah,
and it's when you're trying to do a Christian school, there's not many options
right.
for
Yeah.
a mascot.
Yeah.
So we're like, are we gonna be the Lions? Are we
Yeah.
gonna be the Eagles? Are we gonna
Right.
be so we wanted to make sure that it was biblical.
Yeah.
And I tell you, choosing the Warriors, it just fit.
Yeah.
It fit. During a lot of the sermons that you were doing during that time, you were talking about warriors and raising up warriors, and we're like, that's it. We're the Warriors.
Part of our vision last year, year before even, was I remember the Lord speaking to my heart that our church at least would have a connection to raising up warriors.
Yes. Yes.
And when y'all, because I was totally out of all those meetings.
Yes.
When they were deciding what our mascot would be.
Mm-hmm.
But when they came back and said, we're going to be the Warriors.
Yeah.
I remember very specifically a sermon that I preached about 2 years ago, I would imagine, where I talked specifically about us pouring into the next generation and raising up warriors.
Yes.
And
yes.
So I didn't really know how much impact that had. It's not that we don't talk to each other; we talk to each other every day.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not a micromanager, and I certainly wasn't going to throw my opinion out there. But the fact that they came back with the Warriors, when I knew that in my heart that God had spoken to me, that our church would have a connection to raising up warriors, was a big deal and a confirming thing for me, personally. So the how of it is that's how we became Lincoln Christian. That's how we became the Warriors. But we also have some really specific things that I believe God's called us to in this season on the earth. And I'll say from my perspective that I believe the reason for that is he has determined to raise up warriors. And I'm not saying at all that he's not going to raise up warriors that are in public school, but I do believe there are a specific number of kids and a specific group of people that He set aside to
Yes.
be trained in specific ways.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we'll always need Christian kids in public school.
Yes,
I believe we'll
definitely.
always need Christian kids in private school.
Right.
But I also believe that there's going to be a group of kids that he sets apart to be raised up in a Christian school, where the sole purpose of them being here is to become the warriors that Christ
That's
called us to
right.
be.
That's
He
right.
said in His Word that as we move toward the end of the earth, and I'm not a gloom and doom preacher. I've never been discouraged with that thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about what God's getting ready to do
Right.
next.
Right.
But I don't believe that the earth will look forever like it looks now.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
I believe we're headed towards something uh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we're headed toward an intensity on the earth where spiritual things are concerned that we've never even touched the edge of yet. And with that being said, God said in His Word that He will always have a remnant. Now that remnant, some of that remnant's going to come from private school. Some of it's going to come from public school. Uh, but I believe an integral part of that remnant is going to come from Christian school, and I believe we're going to be one of those schools that raise up those warriors that are going to be ready to battle these young people that we're going to get to pour
Mm-hmm.
into, that are going to be under our care, and we take that very seriously.
Very seriously. Yes.
We'll we will have some very specific input into them
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to pour into them. There's a thought like I'm not very good at computer stuff. Like I have to ask all the girls. Ryan probably have asked you how to turn mine on. I'm not, but I do know this:
Right.
that a computer can't have output unless it had some input. And
Right.
I know a computer, if you just plug it in and you just stand in the other side of the room and say, "All right, create for me this," unless it has the tools that have been input into it, it can't do
Yes.
that. And
Yes.
but I said all of that to say this, that God has some specific output that is going to be necessary in the last days,
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to have some specific input on, and I believe that's the why of Lincoln Christian Academy, is that there is a group of people, and He already knows who they are,
Oh yes,
that are
I
going to
agree.
come here, and we're going to have opportunity 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 365 days a year to pour ourselves, or pour
Yes.
not really us as much as pour what we believe His vision is
Yes.
into them,
Mm-hmm.
so that at the end of the day, when they're called upon to act or react in an obedient way, they're going to
Yes.
be ready to do that.
I'm gonna be
And
ready.
so that as a pastor, that's my why. Uh, you probably have a why that's very connected
Yeah,
to that.
very connected to that.
Talk about that for a
Yeah.
minute. I know
So our mission statement is it's our goal. You know, we want to make sure that we have we teach our students a Christian worldview, and we want to prepare warriors to serve others and to glorify God. That is our mission.
yeah,
And so we want to increase kingdom education. We want to make sure that our warriors can stand firm on the word,
yeah,
and that they're ready.
they're secure in
Because
that,
the
right?
world is going to come at them.
Yeah,
And we know that's going to happen.
yeah,
But we want to make sure that they will be secure in the word and have a strong foundation
yeah.
where they can say, I believe in Jesus
That's
Christ,
right.
and we know what's right, what's wrong, and the Bible is the truth.
That's right.
That's what we're going to
Yeah.
teach them. The Bible is the truth, and we're going to follow the
Amen.
Bible.
That's
Yes.
good. Well, and I think that the specific nature of it, and we don't have to apologize
Right.
or make excuses. This is our goal. Our
This is
stated
the
goal
goal.
is, if you're in public school,
This is it.
for good reason.
Yes.
That's not what you do in public school.
Right.
And
Right.
and that there's nothing wrong with that, but our stated goal, if you were going into education and you wanted to be a great veterinarian, go to NC State. If you want to be
Yeah.
a doctor, go to Wake Forest. If you want to be a lawyer, you can go to Carolina, whatever. But in the same way, we're going to be very specific
Yes.
in our expertise as far as we're concerned in teaching young people to be warriors.
Yes. Yes.
And so we're we're truly excited about
We're
that. We
so
don't know all the
excited.
young people that the Lord's going to bring to
Not
us,
yet, but we're ready.
but we're excited that they're
Mhm.
coming, and we're grateful that He knows who they're going to be.
Mhm.
You
I
know, that's a
agree.
big deal,
Yeah.
and so we're also excited that this is the lady that God
Oh.
has handpicked to lead in that endeavor, because her heart and our heart is the same,
Mhm.
and so
Right.
anyway, I'm excited that you're here. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
that our goal is the same, and
Yes.
and God knew before the foundations of the earth that you and I would be sitting on a couch today, doing a
Who would have
podcast
thought?
talking about a school
Yeah.
that 3 years ago wasn't even
Yeah.
wasn't even in anybody's sights,
No,
but it is
not at
now.
all. It
It's
is.
real.
It is
It's
real.
real. We
It's
got kids.
happening.
We got kids signed up already.
Yes, we do. It's
That are
happening.
coming this year. Tell me a little bit about how we're gonna how we're gonna implement starting. The K2 and moving forward after that. What's that gonna look like?
Yes. So right now we are going to start small K2, and the doors will open the fall of this August. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
2023. We're really excited about that. The next year we definitely plan to increase by adding 3, 4, and 5 during that time.
Yeah.
So we are looking for your kindergartner, your first grader, and your second grader to go ahead and sign up. Our enrollment is open now. Like you
Yeah.
say, we do have several kids and families that have already partnered with us.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that.
Yeah.
We have an amazing website that you go and look for more information, lincolnchristianacademy.org. Definitely got to give the praise to Ryan and Danae. They have been instrumental throughout this whole process.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
We can say that because they're sitting in the room behind the camera.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I keep telling Ryan, I'm going to take Danae. I really need Danae as my assistant.
And he's over shaking.
He's going to shake his head like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
He had to work. He had to work hard to get her as his assistant.
I'm sure, but she is awesome.
He's not going to let that go easily.
I'll let her go.
Well, that's just an example too of how God's using the gifts and talents.
Oh,
of the people,
yes.
to promote His spiritual vision.
Yes, everyone has been so cooperative and so collaborative during this time.
Yeah.
Everybody's just been lending a hand. What does LCA need?
Right.
So it's been a great team.
Yeah.
Great
And we're
teamwork.
interviewing teachers now.
Yes, we are.
That's been opened up. So that's another big part.
That's another big part.
Having the right people here.
Yeah.
We have a preschool here at our church, Covenant Preschool, that's very much feeding into the kindergarten part. The kindergarten group is that group is responding. First and second grade, I was thinking about this as a parent. We're ready to have even more than we have registered.
Yes.
And we're excited about whoever's coming. But a lot of times parents are not going to make that decision until February, March, April.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
So keep
praying.
Our enrollment will be open till the day we open.
Yes.
We're filling up kindergarten class quick.
Oh, very quickly.
But we want your first and second graders too.
Yes.
So you guys that are praying about that, we hope this helps, because
we hope it helps.
If you've been wondering who's going to partner with you to raise up that warrior, you look no further, because we're here to do that.
Yeah.
And we're excited about that. And as she said, make sure to go on our website and look at those things, because a lot of the questions that you're going to have from practical standpoint are going to be answered.
They can be answered from the website for sure.
Stuff. But one of the reasons we did this today is because the important questions that maybe they're in your heart that aren't answered with just goals and vision, that it can only be answered with a relational response.
Yes.
We're bringing that relational response today. We're letting you know that we're committed to this process, and we believe that it is ordained of God for us to raise up the warriors that He's called in our community. And your kid might very well be one of those people that are supposed to be one of those warriors.
Yeah.
And you might have needed just a little bit of a look at us today and hear our hearts a little bit, get to know my sister like I know her, so that you can trust the process.
Yes.
Because
I was
on the county for Lincoln County Schools sit team one time, and we were
Sit team.
we're actually writing. For you guys that don't know what that means, look it up.
Oh.
We will not take the time
No.
to explain that. But I helped with the sit team when I was at
Mhm.
Lincolnton Middle School, and then as a spiritual leader in the community, they asked me to actually sit in on writing a new kind of part of the vision for the
Yeah.
Lincoln County Schools.
Mhm.
We sat in a room one day with a bunch of teachers, a bunch of administrators, and uh, some uh, people from Gaston College that worked there,
Mhm.
and one preacher, me, and we sat at these tables and wrote all these goals for what we think the vision should be for Lincoln County Schools. And eventually, I was sitting there looking at the principals and the teachers that were sitting at my table, and I'm like, we're writing a bunch of stuff that parents don't care about. Here's what parents care about is that your kids get to school.
Safely.
They're safely get to school.
Safely.
They're protected all day at school.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
something's poured into them while they're there, and
Yes.
that when they pick them up, they get them safely home.
That's
And
right.
so we wrote our whole
That's right.
we wrote our whole vision on that. Now ours is going to be different. If
Yeah.
you and I were sitting here and we were we were the
Yeah.
sit team for Lincoln Christian Academy, we would say we're gonna protect them, and we're gonna guard them, and we're gonna get them back to you safely. But we have an added goal in there. While they're here, we're
While
gonna
they're
pour
here.
a warrior mentality
Oh
into
my.
them,
Every single
and they're
day.
gonna be. The Bible says, if you hide the word of the Lord in your heart, you won't sin against God.
Mm.
We're going to do that, but we're also going to create a confidence in them to
Yes.
be the next generation that truly are warriors
So
for
they can
Christ.
stand firm. Yes.
So when this revival of move of God that I believe is coming happens,
Mhm.
and when the war breaks out, maybe even against the church, our kids are going to be ready,
Yeah.
and that's our promise to you. We will love them,
Oh, yes, we will
protect them,
love
and do all those beautiful
them.
things. But we're also going to train them.
Oh, yes. They're gonna be ready.
That's a privilege for us to
Mhm.
get to do that. So, all right, we're about to close this thing out. You got anything else you want to say in closing?
Thank you so much.
my gosh.
It's just been an honor.
It was
So
fun.
thank you so much. It's been fun.
It's fun.
So thank you.
It's fun. It's been fun too. I'll say this.
It is
I
fun.
said it to start
Yeah.
with, but it's been really fun getting to know you. And
Yeah.
becoming friends.
Yeah.
I love
I agree.
you and Chad and Caleb with my whole heart. Uh, just a beautiful, wonderful family. But getting because I felt like I was kind of Chad and I were friends even
Yes.
before he came here.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
getting to get to know you
Mhm.
as a staff
Yeah.
member has been a privilege for me. And I love you. I'm glad you're the one
Aw,
doing this. I
thank
believe that God
you.
handpicked you,
Thank
and
you.
so I can't wait to keep building this relationship moving forward. And I can't wait to
Mhm.
see what Lincoln Christian Academy becomes under your leadership.
Mm.
And so anyway,
Mm.
thank you guys for joining in with us
Yeah.
today. We love doing these things.
Mm.
Share this with all your friends. If you have friends that have kids K through 2 especially right now,
Oh,
share
yes.
it tomorrow
Yes.
and let them know. This will let them know a little bit about our hearts
Just a little
for
bit.
their
Yeah.
kids. And but anyway, thank you for tuning in with us.
Mhm.
It's a privilege for us to get to do these things. I appreciate Ryan and Danae and all their hard work for
Yes.
putting these
Thank
things out
you.
here. And we will absolutely see you next time. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.